how come we let the religious right override our Christian faith? Why did we cop out on Jesus? When they started throwing scriptures that weren't right, we sold out. You know, we started to believe that whatever Christ or God they had was the one that was not welcome to us. And I thought, we sold out Christ. We believed a lie. We believed that when they said there's something wrong with us, we tried to get it fixed. We prayed and prayed and prayed. We went to the altar and said, please save me from this. I want to be with Christ. We have people who totally walked away from the church and have never walked back into it as a result of that. And I had this tremendous pain because we were oppressed and we did what oppressed people do. And the bishop was saying, we need to come boldly, and we stand up. We're a whole people. We don't have to bow to anybody else. And I thought, that is the place that I felt the mercy and grace. When I walked into the little church in Billings, I knew that the Christ from my childhood was still there. And I knew, I had a dream, that I was walking down a path in a dress, good God. I did. Blonde hair, and I had a white dress, and you know how this is the kind of the stretchy stuff, and it had a little rainbow weaved in it. I was in a dress.
Oh, nice.
So I'm walking down this path, and the path is lit. And when I come closer to the end, I feel my hand reaching out. And I feel the Christ I know taking the hand of that little girl. You know, and reminded me that no one should be stumbling my path up. It's against the Bible, it's against the call. And I got picked up by that, Jesus. I know this sounds wacky and weird, but I did. And I just was in that place where everything's all right. I don't have to take any more pills. I don't have to drink myself to death. I don't have to eat everything that's in the fridge or masses because I'm so afraid all the time. That's why we do addictive behavior, usually out of fear. And it was that moment for me that the spark came to me for me to say, okay, the past is the past, it won't last. And I will serve you all the rest of my days. I will serve you all the rest of my days. And I was so glad to re-meet that Christ that I loved. And I understood that I got lost because I heard all this stuff from other churches. Christ says, I'll lose none. Takes us where we're at, whether we're just, you know, stuck in sin and shame or greed or whatever would be hitting us and breaks us whole. That's why we come together in this place. Because we're whole here. And God has things that only each person can do. And if the mercy and grace can be something you can touch, then you wake up with the expectation of how God will use you this day.
Amen.
If you totally take it, you wake up and you know, God has someone somewhere I am to meet today. And I want them to see the Christ that I believe in. Even if, you know, this is really good. I have to, after Reem got hurt and lost her job and became retired, our incomes changed. And so she had to go through a bankruptcy on the medical stuff, and she had to go through bankruptcy or on some of the cards, and then all the credit cards, and then all the rest of it fell on me. And so I've had a long 4 years of creditors griping at me. To see the least. So I went to see the lawyer, and I went in, and he was like, I didn't think I should pay him because he made me work. He made me do 4 years instead of 2 because he didn't tell me I might have to do that. But when I came out of there, it's like, you know what he wanted? Wanted me to go get the ring that you guys gave me and praised.
What?
If it would be worth some money that I could pay him with. And my heart broke. I thought, you know, not gonna take my ring and make me hawk it, are you? He said, well, go get appraisal. So, yeah, Nancy told me, go see Dyson instead of that other one. And Dyson looked at it and he said, it may be a whole lot of money, but it's custom jewelry, it's custom made for you. Nobody else can wear it. Nobody else can wear it because it's made for my finger size. So only someone with a finger size of mine could get it. And it's engraved inside. My heart was broke. I thought, when I go back to see the story next time, I'm not going alone. If I bring my ring. But I'm up in the morning and I'm singing Indian songs. And I'm hail, hail unto God the Great Spirit and the Creator, and I'm hail, hail, hail. I did that all morning. Rings in there. I am a hail away in the Trinity. So don't worry. Jesus in there too. Because I wanted to have something around me before I go there. So the last thing I did when I did that prayer is I put on a medicine bag that was given to me for protection. And I only wear it when I'm going someplace that I know I have to totally be sealed. You know what I mean? So I don't take on what somebody else has. And you wouldn't believe how that lawyer was. I gave him $400, $500. You know what he did? He gave me $100 back.
Wow. Wow.
He was a whole different person now. And we went in there, and it was a good thing.
Wow.
He's going to support me through, getting through the rest of it. But that's what I did. And I believed in that. There was a time I wore that bag all the time because I seemed to get fearful of the world. Or fearful of relationships or things that are not good enough. And I used to wear it quite a bit. We used to do a tree to remind me to stay grounded. And it worked, and it saved me some big mistakes I might have made. That's the Jesus I know that speaks to many people in many different ways. We may use a different language, but it's the same spirit we follow. And we don't have to sell it out. Because God has the greatest mercy and grace to cover us you wouldn't believe. It don't matter how far you go down, huh?
Exactly.
It does not matter.
And, hopefully we learn from that, though, Pastor, that in return, how much mercy and grace do we give out? How much mercy and grace do we give out? If we truly believe we've experienced God's mercy and God's grace, and that's what we talked about this past week too, then how do we live out mercy and grace in the people that we come in contact with?
We're kind.
Yeah.
We're forgiving.
Yeah, it's important. I told you I have a lot of stories.
You got one now? I'm always ready for your stories.
Boris Kornfeld was a Jew who lived in Russia.
Good story.
And Boris, because he spoke out against Stalin, ended up in the Gulag, which is the Soviet prison in Siberia. And Boris was a doctor. So they told him as a doctor he was going to take care of all the prisoners. And it was his goal that no prisoners died while they were in the hospital. They didn't care if they died while they were out in their field doing work. But if they came to the hospital, they needed to survive because the Soviet Union's prestige depended upon this. So Boris, he ended up talking to individuals. There was an individual who talked to him about being a Christian. And finally, Boris believed and became a believer. And he was in the Gulag for many, many years. And at one time, one of the guards who had severely beaten him came to the hospital and needed surgery. And Boris got to perform the surgery. And he thought to himself, as he was working on this man, I could snip this man's artery right now. The man would bleed to death on the table, and no one would know the difference. Revenge! As he thought about it, though, the passage came to him. Forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against me. He let the guard live. As a result, he went on and he met another inmate. And the inmate had cancer of the intestines. things did not look well. So Boris felt led to talk to this man about Jesus. And he did. Every chance he got, he talked to him. And it came up on an occasion where finally surgery was going to happen on the man, and Boris was going to be the surgeon. And he did. He performed the surgery, and the man was in recovery. And as he was waking up from recovery, he heard the worst screaming he had ever heard. He found out later that the guards were beating Boris to death, and Boris died. The man, though, remembered Boris's message, and he became a believer himself, a Jew for Christ. A Jew who did not believe in the Messiah, but a Jew who eventually believed. He became a Jew for Christ. And we know this man because he won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who wrote the Gulag Archipelago. And many of you may not know it, but when you read his story, you realize, wow, here's a man who was not a believer, but because one man, because of mercy and grace, won him to Jesus Christ, and he became a great man of literature. Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I had to read the book when I was in high school. So, and I thought,
Transformation,
that's giving out mercy and grace, even when we don't want to. And that's our message that we were talking about, Pastor. That God, it is amazing grace. We sang it at the very beginning. You know, amazing grace. And then what do we do with that grace? Are we able to, you know, and we come in contact with all kinds of people. We come into contact with people who hate us, who despise us. Are we able to give grace? Are we able to give out mercy? It's important for us. You know, even when we go to that ministerial association, I nod my head at it. That's my way of giving mercy and grace. I don't like your message, but God bless you anyway.
He does. You know, Susan Boyle has been a champion for me because she was such a regular person, and she sang and transformed the room. And this song that we have it's called You Have to Be There. So if you've ever had a dark night of the soul, she'll minister to you in this song, that you might heal that so that you can stand in that light, that we are covered by grace and mercy.
What is it, Lord, that you want